From a Christian perspective, I'd sit here and say, okay, well then, what is Bill's purpose in life? And I'd go down some of these roads to say, on atheism, well, how do you invent this?
We talked about the evolutionary argument against naturalism.
Yes.
By Alvin Plantinga, where if we're evolved just to survive and it's kind of a random chance sort of thing, not any plan, how in the world can we trust our brains? How can we trust our moral judgments? And Christians are right. And we had Frank Turek on the show, and he wrote a book, Stealing from God.
Yep.
So he says atheists steal from Christian morality. And he has a good point. Because we grew up in a Christian nation, we have Christian values. I had a huge Christian influence. So we can't help but be influenced by that. So existentially, it's a problem with how do we get our morals and values, because if we are involved, we just are poor judges for morality or finding evidence out.
So is it whoever can persuade the people the best, and whoever's the strongest, or whoever gets the most influence, their morality ends up?
Personally, everybody loved Christopher Hitchens because he was so witty. So a lot of times, we've done studies, is the more attractive people they listen to and believe more.
Right.
So there's all sorts of these biases. It's called confirmation bias, where we tend to confirm our things we believe in and want to believe, but we're bad at disconfirming evidence, looking for disconfirming evidence that's against our beliefs. And that's the key, is to go and read the other side. Look at the books that are against your point. Like Stephen Meyer we were talking about.
Right. His new Return to the God Hypothesis.
Great book. And he discusses the DNA enigma, which is a real problem. The beginning of life, the origin of life, is a huge problem for us, because you have the chirality problem with these amino acids having to all be left-handed.
Yep.
And you have the enzymes. Well, if you don't have those, these reactions aren't going to work out a lot of times. So, but it's a protein. So how do you get the DNA to make the protein? And DNA is a protein. And how do you just get it even off the ground?
See what I mean about he's a little bit more honest on we got problems. I'm tempted to say, just start listening to some of the more problems you guys have. You got a problem coming up with morality. You got a problem coming up with light.
Oh,
you got
absolutely.
A problem coming up with, do you see the problem with coming up with a universe in the first place? Like, where did everything come from?
Oh, absolutely. I was just reading today about the strong nuclear force. If you don't have, protons, opposites repel each other.
Right.
But in the nucleus of the atom, they actually are tight because of the strong nuclear force. And it holds the electrons, the quarks, or not the electrons, but the quarks inside the protons and stuff, the up and down quarks and so forth. So just from the get-go, you've got a huge problem. Also,
I love hearing this.
One of the huge other problems is right from the beginning, the singularity expands. You have inflation where it expands really quickly. And we can wind, the universe is expanding more rapidly as it goes out. But if you wind it back, you can get to, they say you can get to the first minute. And so here's the problem, is when the universe expands, if it goes too fast, then galaxies will form, which means we will form, Earth will form. If it goes too slow, if that cosmological constant isn't just right, and the mass isn't just right, then it's going to just collapse into a black hole. So right from the very start, you've got this expansion rate that has to be precisely fine-tuned, as does these other things like the gravitational constant, 10 to the 60th. That's
how fine-tuned.
And the cosmic,
yes,
it's like a dial on a radio where it cannot go. And Luke Barnes said that if these things aren't right, you'll just have protons floating in the universe. So,
you could even get protons. I mean, even protons would be...
Yeah, how do they come here?
Right. I mean, if amino acids, like to start with amino acids, and you got to have them all left-handed, and you got to have at least 20 in a row, all left-handed.
Or different combinations,
Right. Yeah. Like, wow. Okay.
And these proteins have to be folded certain ways too. It's one problem after another.